Hello everyone, I'm still Ikari and this is the third episode of Skyrim Special Edition modding. This week I actually set a new record in terms of hardcoreness and dedication. Because you see, I had to work overtime on Friday and also on Saturday. So to be able to produce this episode, I had to remove sleep completely. Which means I have been awake for over 40 hours now, and just on a side note. Anyway, some really interesting mods this week, including a real bomb one. So, let's see if we can detonate it. Intro 1, detonate. Okay guys, before we do anything else, let's take care of those horrible vanilla menus. I mean, seriously, it's just so inconvenient. Too bad we can't have SkyUI like in the classic Skyrim. Or can we? There is actually a way. So, SkyUI by Schlangster. Wait a minute, Schlangster? The guy who created SkyUI is German? Heilige Scheiße, I had no idea. Anyway, an old version of SkyUI 2.2 actually works with SE. And tada, we have nice menus. Okay, there are a few inconveniences because SkyUI actually requires Skyrim script extender, which we don't have for the SE yet. The search function won't work, and you will see this warning message in the upper right corner. But you can play just fine, you won't experience any crashes or anything. And if you are really bothered by this warning message that much, there is a guide on Reddit explaining how to hide it by editing some files. A link in the description, obviously. And also keep in mind this is a really old version of SkyUI. So for example, the favorites menu is still vanilla. And while the shop menus or the magic menu work great, the crafting menus are also still vanilla. But hey, this is definitely better than nothing. And until Skyrim script extender is available, or maybe a modder manages to create something of equal quality, this will have to do. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to point out that we had a little breakthrough a while ago. ENB series has been released for SE. So I switched from ReEngaged ReShade to the newly updated and tweaked ReEngaged ReShade and ENB. And here's what happens to my game. First of all, the depth of field effect does not mess with the menus anymore, which is definitely a plus. And in terms of visuals, I'm a little bit conflicted here, to be honest. Because while there is definitely an improvement in certain areas and lighting effects, it's not that much difference from the ReShade only version. Well, it should be noted that the current ENB binary file is an early beta, which means the changes it makes possible are nothing in comparison to what ENB can do in classic Skyrim right now. And which also means it's really performance heavy. I use the Ultra version of ReEngaged and I saw my FPS drop to almost 40 in certain places, despite having a GTX 170. So, to ensure playable FPS counts, I would suggest for those of you with mid-tier PCs to stick with the ReShade only version, until the ENB binaries are updated and optimized a bit. The next mod is small and simple, and yet really neat. The world map. Looks okay. Yeah, nothing special, right? And now we're installing pastel map markers by iTitomix. What the... Anyway, we are installing it and bam! Nice colorful icons. Much easier to find stuff, right? And the cool thing is, it also influences the minimap. See? Very nice indeed. And now comes another mod which was quite a benchmark in the history of modding. 4's New Idols, also known as FNIS, by 4. And holy shit guys, he is also German. I didn't know Germany had that kind of presence in Skyrim modding. I mean, dare I mention Enderall? Okay, back to the topic. This mod allows the use of new animations in Skyrim, so it's more like a tool for other modders. You can, however, also download FNIS spells with some nice example animations. Those spells can be used on the player or on the NPCs. Now, let's see who the true baller is, Jarl Bolen. Haters gonna hate. Arrgh! Seriously, who does not know this? Dragonborn, with the power of the voice, he came to serve. So anyway, with this in SE, we can now expect awesome mods with new animations. We are slowly getting there, guys. We shall make Skyrim great again. One of Skyrim's biggest weak points are its LODs, in both Classic and SE. Well, here are the nice mod to improve a lot of those LODs. HD LOD Texture by Abenderon. This mod is designed to improve most LODs with 4K or 8K textures for those faraway objects. Yes, 8K, you heard right. So be careful with your VRAM, children! Just kidding. But the problem with vanilla LODs is that the textures are uncompressed. So if you should go for the main file and not the ultra high-res one, you should theoretically not have any performance impact at all. Also, this mod works best with Noble Skyrim HD texture overhaul, which I am using, so it fits perfectly as you can see. All the structures are greatly improved, the only remaining thing is actually just the ground textures. But for that we will probably have to wait for Dindo LOD to work with the special edition, which is announced by the way. Another thing to look forward to. Okay people, before we move to the interesting stuff, here is another pretty much essential mod, which will make your combat look more real. Enhanced blood textures by D-Define1. Skyrim's vanilla blood effects were kept minimalistic, probably out of fear to make it too gory. Well, with this mod everything changes. Blood will now obviously have better textures, and it will also splatter everywhere during a fight, coloring your surroundings crimson. But that's not everything this mod can do. Blood pools will form under fallen enemies, you will see blood splatters on the screen. If you or your enemy are low on health, you will see blood drip on the floor, symbolizing a great injury. And after an enemy is fallen, you will see his body still spasming for a few seconds while gushing out blood. This is supposedly what happens in these kinds of situations, in other words, realistic. But that's not all. Spiders will now have green blood, and Dwarven automatons black oil-like liquid, which definitely increases the immersion and realism. So unless you're somebody who absolutely can't see blood in a video game, well, you know what I mean, it's a good mod. So, wouldn't it be cool if we could see more than just one equipped weapon at a time on our character? In Classic Skyrim we had equipping overhaul for that, which requires script extender. But, ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you there is a simple mod which accomplishes pretty much the same? Visible Favorited Gear by Sky Pancake allows you to equip one of each weapon at the same time. And yes, it works like a charm, as you can see. You can turn yourself into a real weapon master. Of course, you can't have two of the same weapons, dual wield style, because you would need something like a dual sheath redux for that. But hey, we really can't complain here. The only thing you should consider is that you have to sheath your weapon before switching to another one, or otherwise this will happen. And from there it will just get weirder and weirder, and the only escape would be to finally sheath and switch. Nevertheless, a simple but a really great mod. And now comes a new quest mod of enormous proportions. Quays' Questorium by Quays, god damn it. Well, let's just say by Ahondara, the uploader. So anyway, just check out the file size. This is a real bomb mod. However, it's not one big quest line, more like lots of independent stories scattered around Skyrim, similar to unique NPCs. There are over 60 quests and around 80 voiced NPCs, so obviously I wasn't able to complete all of it. But here are some examples. The first quest I did was near Whiterun, where a dude wanted to sell a house for 8,000 gold. The voice acting in this mod is actually quite decent.
You're in luck. The Legion fella hired me to build this place, but he won't be needing it after all. No, not at all. He was killed at Helgen. By a dragon of all things.
So, a long story short, if you purchase a certain upgrade for this house, you will discover a passage which leads to a dungeon full of skewers and other crazy things, and of course there is treasure. Now this was probably one of the smallest quests of this mod. So afterwards I went to Winterhold, because as you can see, there is a campaign going on to rebuild it. And of course you can also participate, which actually means doing stuff for this scumbag here.
Been hired to rebuild Waterhold or Winterhold, whatever. Big project. Pay is good.
He will pretty much send you on fetch quests, like for example, escort a blacksmith who ends up going on his own, or look for the Jarl's horse, well, which actually turns out to be quite cool in the end. But when I did this, I thought I will unlock some badass quest that way, but he actually sent me on a fetch quest for a third time, and afterwards scammed me by selling me a house for 5,000 gold. And that was it, Winterhold rebuilt, end of quest line. Okay, the horse is quite cool, but unfortunately no super duper world threatening scenario unfolded. So yeah, looking on the screenshots, it looks like I managed to stumble upon the lamest quests of this mod. So what can I say? It's a big mod with a lot of content, and from what I have seen, quite acceptable quality. And this is it for this week, people. Links to all mods are probably in the description, endorse the modders if you should use them, and if you enjoyed my video, punch the like button and subscribe for more weekly Skyrim modding action. Thank you all for watching, and see you around!